You know, I spent so long talking about the iconic characters of Adventure Time, and it's deserved. Adventure Time's characterizations are iconic and a big part of its legacy. So many different characters from main to side with incredible and compelling growth that not only advance Adventure Time's storytelling, but also its iconography. I mean, there's some obvious ones like Ice King having the most iconic character twist in the series that basically set so much of the show in stone from its past to the source of so many other arcs. And Marceline too, given one of the most emotional and tragic backstories in the show, making her super compelling and one of the most interesting characters of the show. And Finn and Jake have plenty of investing episodes exploring their emotional depth and character journeys through the run. Even unimportant side characters like Magic Man that seem like one-off random inclusions eventually got really investing and interesting character arcs you'd never expect. And so many characters come back in one way or another, it's honestly amazing how much they did with how many characters they've made, and help this world seem so unified and interesting. However, since the Adventure Time world is so big, it does have quite the number of characters who have appeared very little or sometimes even just once. And for some of them, it's a genuine shame they only got one or few appearances and could have had much more potential than they ended up getting. And for once, I'm gonna dedicate a video on it. But I think it's too easy to just go, hey, remember these characters? I'm gonna also try to come up with some plot or situations that might work with these characters if they ever come back. Because it's fun to imagine how these characters could realistically come back in a worthwhile way. Again, just want to keep things more interesting. So, let's dive into all the Adventure Time characters the show left behind. Now, it's gonna be a little dicey to say what characters are truly forgotten. I'm gonna treat it as any character who was really in the forefront of an episode, but never got another appearance of importance again, or if I really think they deserve to have more attention by their innate potential. And like, I do feel small cameos really aren't the same thing. I want to go over what feels like a forgotten character than just, hey, this guy appeared once thing. Also, characters need to appear on screen to count. And starting with one I'm really surprised the show hasn't utilized more, Manish the Manly Minotaur. You know, this character is important to me because this was the first promo I ever saw of the show, and my first reaction as a kid was, what the f*** is this shit? He's the guardian of the Enchiridion, and despite his role and his intimidating stature, he's surprisingly a super chill and jolly guy, only really showing up at the end of the episode and congratulating the two on their trials, and inviting them for some spaghetti dinner. Man, this guy is awesome, way better than the Manotaurs from Gravity Falls. However, after this, Manish never appeared again in the entire series, unless kind of in the intro of the Minecraft crossover. Side note, but I can't believe this exists. This is the real Minecraft movie. And it's really surprising to me because of how important the Enchiridion is, that he never got any mention or reappearance again. Like really, this guy can totally have some Billy-style backstory and how he got to be in possession of the Enchiridion. Like I can totally imagine Finn reads something in the book and has to go to Mount Cragdor to ask Manish what that means. That spirals into a new adventure to solve it. And also, since the Enchiridion was destroyed in Season 5, imagine if they met up with Manish and asked how they're doing with the Enchiridion, as the two nervously skirt that they not only treat it like crap, but end up destroying it. Or hell, now that he's no longer a guardian, maybe he's free to be an adventurer, and teams up with the two in a montage, maybe even a full episode, at least maybe it's around some hostile locations. There's so much you can do with this guy, and I'm legitimately shocked the show didn't use them again, because it's right up their alley. This is one of the more disappointing exclusions in this show because I really think you do a lot with them. Keeper is another one that's weird but less so. Keeper was with Manish Man in Mount Cragdor, but he's much more subdued, just being the gatekeeper with the first puzzle. But still, I feel with his role as basically a dungeon master, he has room to return, maybe hilariously with more roles as a dungeon keeper for multiple other places. Like imagine if he was in the dungeon of the Crystal Eye for no reason, that would be hilarious. Also, if Manish would ever reappear, Keeper can go right with him. What makes it weirder is that he has some other variants that did show up, namely Bucco, the holographic guide to the Enchiridion, which explained its potential to reach into the multiverse, and also the Door Lord, which is just weird. Might as well segue there. The Door Lord is another, only appearing in the episode What Was Missing. Now, the Door Lord has absolutely no explanation or origin, and just exists for this conflict, stealing the character's important possessions and making portals through summoning doors, and then hiding away in a magically sealed gate until the heroes make a song to open it, and then beat him up to take their stuff back. He's then never seen or mentioned again. Now, this character completely perplexes me, like what are they and why are they doing everything? And most of all, why the hell do they look like a big gangly keeper? There's no explanation given. A sporadic appearance and said unexplained design and origins make it really hard to think of anything with them. Like I said before, you can do this exact same plot with Magic Man and it would fit much better. The best thing I can think of is a whole plot dedicated to explain the Door Lord's past and origin, maybe even with multiple Door Lords, and why the hell it looks like Keeper. Potentially having Finn and Jake stop these things at the source. Or alternatively, potentially an opening of an episode fighting off Door Lord to get his stuff that's the catalyst for the rest of the episode. Not much, but it's hard to think of anything with that. Another from season 1 is the Jiggler. Yeah, that one's really forgotten about. Honestly, it's another forgettable and uninteresting Adventure Time episode that really makes me against people who say early Adventure Time is the best. Finn and Jake find some weird Dumbo looking guy in the woods and adopt it, but suck at taking care of it, and have to find its mother and dip it into Campbell's soup so it doesn't kill it. Honestly, the most memorable thing is the title card. What the f were they thinking? It's really no surprise the Jiggler was basically a one-off, only having a cameo at the end montage where he randomly gets a suit and tie. What is he now, a businessman? Well, we'll get to that. But I really can't think of any actual situation where the Jiggler can have any plot. My biggest idea is that maybe in those musical events he can show up in the background like Party Pat's concert or the rap competition. That's really it. The show doesn't give me much to work with. Now, I would move on, but there's one forgotten character I completely forgot about even when making this list, and I bet you completely did too. Stanley the Watermelon. You might ask, who? Well, he's basically just a watermelon, but everyone treats him as if he's real, and there's no actual evidence to why. Stanley somehow even has a family of other completely normal food items, and the Jiggler opens up with the duo, saving him from some threat. They potentially killed multiple beings just to save a potentially inanimate watermelon. What? He and his family also shows up in Death and Bloom, where the science conference is inexplicably hosted there. Yeah, why? There isn't a single indication that they're actually alive. Maybe it's a prank situation where the characters just really think they are real. But yeah, I can barely even count these as characters. The only possible thing I could think of is another non-sequitur thing to intro an episode, or potentially double down the joke and just cut to them doing something they have no right to do. Like, you know SpongeBob's Nosferatu joke? Just replace it with Stanley. Stanley did whatever. Literally, when first making this list, I completely forgot them when I already included this episode, so like, they win as my vote as the most forgotten Adventure Time character. But there's another. The Businessmen. Another one I'm kind of surprised never came back. They were pretty situational though, being frozen in an iceberg, and are basically the perfect underlings working for Finn and Jake until they get too into protecting the innocent, where they become a danger and they're forced to basically send them back in the iceberg to make it someone else's problem. I've always wondered if there's other businessmen out there, like when I made the design for Princess Business. In the Raggedy Princess video, I had the thought that she rules over the many businessmen. But yeah, they never reappeared or showed up after, and honestly I kind of feel they should. Like, imagine if some villain got their hands on them and become like the perfect evil minions. Or maybe they just make their own independent business the heroes use. Like, there's a lot of potential. The Marauders are another. They did get a spotlight episode in Memories of Boom Boom Mountain where they're a clan of blue warriors who like nothing but a rob house, but that's really it. Now, they and the Marauder Chief did show up again and it came from the Nidosphere, as the Marauders were some of the victims of Hunson's soul-stealing rampage. Granted, it doesn't matter that they lost their souls because they still ended up giving Hunson a burn he would not forget.
What wears a dark suit is completely evil and is about to suck out all your souls. Your mama?
And the Marauders themselves would make an appearance in Who Would Win, but more as set dressing, setting up Finn wanting to defeat the giant colossus named the Farm, and congratulate the two when they use cheap moves to do so. But what's weirder is that there seems to be a canon reason why they're not in the show, since Burning Low, we see that Flame Princess's new home is right near the recently abandoned Marauder village. But why? Did they actually die by Hunson? I mean, the Marauder Chief wasn't seen in Who Would Win. It's very perplexing, but after it's possible that they all migrated to a new territory. Also, they are important in the first Adventure Time game, but I won't count it. But still, I really wonder what made them leave. I still think they would fit in the show, especially since the two won their respect multiple times. I would love to see the Marauder Village as a reoccurring location to adventure-based plots, like some sort of adventure hub, where we can see some characters interact. I think that would be really cool. Though one of the more perplexing characters is Penny. Penny was really important in the City of Thieves as the catalyst character only to betray the heroes at the end, but after her seeming redemption she's never seen again. And honestly, I feel it's a missed opportunity because it's such an interesting relationship they had. In fact, she was actually going to take Bandit Princess's role, which is really interesting, but I don't think that fits. I think the show needed a new, much more ruthless antagonist because it doesn't really feel like Penny. What I would love is if the two needed someone with thieving skills for a quest, but Penny also has to grapple with her innate thievery urges after her supposed redemption. The witch, though, is troublesome. In the witch's garden, after Jake ate one of her donuts, she cursed him to get rid of his magical powers. Though in retrospect, it's revealed that Jake's powers aren't magical, but it's because he's really a dog alien shapeshifter hybrid. So this woman literally just cursed Jake's entire biology wild. Now, on the one hand, yeah, that curse was an overreaction, but he also did technically eat her private property without permission and refused to apologize, and she did give him a way out of it if he did apologize, so at least it's somewhat reasonable. But then Jake immediately trips her and ditches her, stealing another donut, proving that he didn't learn anything, which makes it hard to bring her back since he 100% would hold a grudge.
Listen, Mrs. Witch.
I never married.
Yeah, it's not like I killed your husband or something.
I am not married. So admit your error and say you're sorry and mean it. Because I can tell the difference. Oh, Bacchus from whence you came across.
Aw, now you're just making these up.
That.
He's my subconscious.
Then he has to do it too.
Aw.
You're doing so well.
And I hate you so much.
My best guess the reappearances would be that she shows up in Wizard Battle as a spectator or contestant around Wizard City, or maybe the two need some magical advice or potion and Finn goes alone to the garden to get her help since she hates Jake, and maybe giving a peace offering of some chocolate milk or something, I don't know. She was a shopkeeper in Nameless Kingdom, so it could work. Oh yeah, also Gary the Mermaid Queen. She was a random antagonist in the episode and forced Jake to get his powers back to save Finn from her. She's kind of a nothing antagonist, but she has an interesting design. But I actually thought of a perfect plot to use her in long ago in the Nepttor video. Basically, that she tries to take over the Rag and Bone Kingdom from Raggedy Princess to raise her weird carnivorous children. Raggedy tries to go to the treehouse for help, but Finn and Jake already left. But Nepttor, who thinks she's a beautiful princess, takes the role of a hero himself to face the abomination, and the two work together to make a scrap heap robot to thrash her and send her back, as Raggedy dubs Nepttor the kingdom's official Knight of Honor. That would be the cutest freaking episode ever, and I'm so mad it doesn't exist. Watch the full video for a deeper dive. Now, I almost want to add Nepttor as a forgotten character, since the show forgot about him for 3 seasons, and he's been done so absolutely dirty in the show, that I dedicated a nearly hour-long video just to show how poorly he got treated. He doesn't get much since he appears a lot, but the fact that he has no actual starring episode since his appearance is super disappointing. Next, Gork and the Other Freaks of Freak City. This one I'm really disappointed because I love this episode. Well, the second half in Finn's relationship to their freaky friends, inspiring these lost souls who gave up on life to fight for their freedom. And after they realize they're stronger together and leave, they never show up again, aside from some doll cameos. I know Gork was voiced by Michael Dorn, but I don't know, you can have him back for at least one episode, like you brought back George Takei for Ricardio. I want to see these guys again. Maybe they settled down and we could see what their lives were before they got transformed, or maybe they became an adventurer team too, after they got inspired. There's a lot you can do with them. Donnie, though, is hard to think of. I'm not too big on Donnie's episode, like that is the most confusing moral possible. I don't even think it really has one, it's just stuff happening. Though I do wish that the Y-Wolves came back, they made cool monsters in another episode. Donnie did technically reappear in the end credit montage, but I'm not counting it, and he was the first boss in the first game, but again, hard to count. I'm looking for an actual notable appearance in the show, but Donnie is so situational and one-off. The best I could think of is to have him as the catalyst for a plot like harassing some character Finn and Jake meet to kickstart something. Or maybe if they ever go back to Townie Village, maybe even hint at an inner character turn. The Duke of Nuts is weird how little they're used as another monarch and kingdom right by the Candy Kingdom, but have no exploration. Like there should be an entire story on the Nut Kingdom. Okay, maybe the innuendos make it difficult, but still. He does randomly appear in the finale on Bubblegum's side, so I guess they somehow appeased her over the pudding deal. Still, like, why haven't we seen them in so long? There's also the Wise Men from Fear of the Ocean. They were the antithesis of the Fear Feaster, where instead of belittling Finn for his fear and flaws, they praise how heroes are defined by their flaws, which is good advice. I mean, what type of hero's journey is the Fear Feaster advocating? He's one of those guys online. Thank God he died. However, even when the Fear Feaster re-emerged, the Wise Men mysteriously didn't. Maybe the taxi driver was late too, but with the Fear Feaster, Again, what are these things? There's also a few towns in the Gut Grinder. Spiky villains did reappear in I Am and Sword in a perfect reintroduction, as its gold reserves make it the perfect target for Bandit Princess to rob. But the others didn't reappear at all, and honestly, there's not too much of them, or this episode. My best use is as a potential montage, or maybe the inhabitants being seen in large gatherings, but that's it. I do want to jump to the next season by also covering the many side princesses that never got many reappearances or any actual focus in an episode. There's too many to list alone, but I'll mention a handful. Princess, Embryo Princess, Bee Princess. How does Breezy fit into this? Crab Princess, Engagement Ring Princess, Emerald Princess, Skeleton Princess, Princess Beautiful, Soft Serve Princess. There's so many. My personal favorite is Gridface Princess because she doesn't seem to have any notable theme and has an interesting design, only getting one voice scene and a significant appearance in something big. There we see she's very technologically inclined, potentially more than Princess Bubblegum, and she is by far the background princess I wish we got to know most about and wish we got a solo episode exploring her kingdom. There's also Snorlock in Slow Love, another one that really makes me feel early Adventure Time is overrated. He is the epitome of a one-off, literally barging into the plot and wanted to help them get a girlfriend. And that's it, never seen her mentioned again. And it makes it hard to think of a use for them aside from just like having the couple show up randomly. Maybe in movie night? My best situation is like the two need to get to a fortress and then call him to do what he did in his first appearance, just barge in with his immense size and start spraying slime everywhere as the ultimate distraction, effectively calling a favor, or maybe just using his sweet beatboxing skills.
Try doing all that.
The Gnomes are another but a weird antagonist. Everyone loves the dancing bug but ignores the messed up in this episode. The Gnomes thought the one human boy was able to power up a device to somehow tip the earth so they'll be on top. This is so dumb and somehow it works and was very close to succeeding. But seriously, these guys are messed up. They literally torture a kid to power their device and make him pole dance for him. What the hell? Weird how they're never seen again when they're just literally beneath the treehouse aside from their king and went to the first dead world, fittingly enough. Granted, it was voiced by Paul Rubin, so maybe that was a deal. Again, don't really know how to use them except in episode possibly diving to the Beneathiverse as a location, maybe even explaining what a gnome knight is. Sir Slicer is another one-off antagonist following and harassing Finn but rightfully getting called out on it. He's more of an emotional antagonist, acting like the Fear Feaster. Hey, wait, they even look alike. Are they related? Oh my god. However, he can't carry himself off his horse and his armor is too heavy. He does appear as a part of Gumball's army, but he doesn't actually do anything. Because of that glaring problem, it's hard for him to be used, but he could be used again as a catalyst for a plot digging into Finn's insecurities, but potentially just at the beginning. The crazy Tart Toter is another one, even if I can't understand why they didn't come back. They were the person who carried the royal tarts until they went crazy and Finn and Jake had to replace them. If there's a whole factory, why are they so valuable? Also, I feel bad for these hobos, like they're starving and got beaten by Finn and Jake because they're idiots and got needlessly assaulted and just wanted some food and now they're paralyzed forever. Also, that twist makes literally no sense. How could they have possibly taken the wrong tarts? Early Adventure Time for you. I really don't know how they'd use him again aside from his cameo in Holly Jolly Secrets and Princess Cookie. My only idea is that the show uses him again to do another weird foreshadowing thing like he did for the Elemental arc. The Tree Witch was an antagonist who tried to suck Jake up her anus. Hey, don't look at me, I didn't write it.
You're gonna have to spend the rest of your life in this witch's butt.
No!
Granted, Jake should like really be able to get out of there. Yeah, another one-known antagonist. I'm not surprised never showed up again. My only suggestion is the same as the first witch. Now here's one I'm surprised never came back. Gummy the Goblin and Whisper Dan. Once Finn and Jake deposed Zergiok, they were forced to take the power vacuum and become the new Goblin King. No, not that one. Gummy was his advisor and helped by Whisper Dan, but he couldn't deal with the rules of being a king and the trauma of the goblins under Zergiok that he literally just made Whisper Dan king by disguising him as himself while he faced Zergiok and left. What gets me is that the Goblin Kingdom is seen numerous other times, Nailman, Hot to the Touch, and the Great Birdman, but they never show up, not even as a cameo. Like, come on, I want to see how they're doing, they should have appeared there. The Cute King opened season 3 with trying to slaughter Finn and Jake to no avail. And after presumably killing the Ice King in his sleep, neither he or his army is seen again for the rest of the show, but another cute person is fought as a boss in the first game. This game really did the characters more justice than the show. Another forgettable filler episode, but I would find it interesting if they had a Reign of Gunther style plot where they somehow become a massive threat to Ooh, that could be fun. Scorcher is one of the coolest characters in this show, a fire-based assassin that feels practically unbeatable and nearly killed Finn and Jake and is only stopped because Ice King tricked him that he killed them himself. I'm really upset he never came back outside of being in Gumball's loser army where he didn't do anything. I think he could solo Bubblegum's army, honestly maybe only stopped by Marceline, Flame Princess, and Huntress. But this guy deserves another starring episode. Like imagine if Don John, once he escaped, hired him to get revenge on Finn and Jake and FP, even if Cinnamon Bun did most of the work, and then we can finally have a full-fledged fight with him. That would be so awesome. Also, Don John kinda counts too, but then I realized after I wrote this that his voice actor Roddy Piper died the next year, so rest in peace, man. There's also a duo many people might forget in the Wholesome Thanksgiving episode, Thank You. This adorable story was about a snow golem raising and befriending a firewolf pup despite the two notoriously hating each other. It's such a sweet episode. But weird how like they never show up again. I feel any scene with the snow golem could be used with them like escaping the Ice Kingdom in Frost and Fire or an Elemental. But then again, Cinnamon Bun's dog grew up super fast, so maybe it was already an adult by then. I almost want to mention the Stag. This terrifying abomination has traumatized many Adventure Time fan, but their origin and intentions are still incredibly vague, which makes them all the creepier. Apparently though, every deer seen in the show is the same creature, so it's technically not forgotten as it somehow survived this, and then got turned into a telescope by Magic Man, thank god. But then it got reverted at the end of Elemental, so this thing is free to continue its horrors. Now, it's hard to think of any other situation, but can you imagine if they just doubled down on No One Can Hear You and made a super over-the-top horror episode of this thing? Like maybe it's an Orgolorg type being. I also want to mention Mimo. Now Mimo isn't really forgotten as they were the main antagonists in 2 episodes, were in the background of the Elemental arc and a part of Gumball's loser squad. But I really think they should have had much more involvement as their unique design and threat factor would be great. We don't really get many reoccurring antagonists like Mimo that are unapologetically evil, and I really wish they returned as a continual enemy for the two in different situations, and even get to see that guild of assassins they once were in. Like, it's really a shame they never explored that. Paper Pete was from a kind of forgettable filler episode, but one I still enjoy regardless and does a lot of good jokes and moments.
Can I find ways to solve problems in a library? Books? Books!
It's revealed that the library is protected by the Paislings and Paper Pete to find the books in secret from their enemy, the Moldos, who eat them and Finn helps them out. But after, we never see them again, at least until the finale of Fiona and Kate, where out of nowhere they come back and so much different as Shermie and Beth explore the ruins of the library and are terrified until it's revealed that the Paislings are the actual threat to intruders, becoming giant monsters. Like what the hell? How did this happen? They were so cute! For stories, it's hard to say since the story already ended, but it would be cool if we see Turtle Princess knows and helps out the Paislings the whole time and they'd show up whenever the library appears. Oof. But then there's the spider couple from Web Weirdos. I consider this one of the most forgettable episodes of the show, with Finn and Jake stuck in a web having to deal with the spider couple's romance issues. I honestly can't think of a single use for them aside from them just popping up in a random episode. Please tell me what you would do.
Poisoning you slowly until you pass out. Circle of life.
Hogwolf. Now this can go for the alpha or the species. Hogwolves were a weird thing to introduce, being a form of werewolves obsessed with hugging. And on full moons, alpha Hogwolves turn those they hug into beta Hogwolves, including Finn. That's right, it's officially canon that Finn is in fact a beta. However, the episode ends with Finn out hugging the alpha and curing them both. Granted, the real ending is much more sudden, but they never explain it. But the fact that Hogwolves are just a thing in this world with no other elaboration bothers me. I would love it if it somehow got mentioned or became a plot point later on. Granted, they were an enemy in the second Adventure Time game. Also, this episode is an infamy thanks to the Hogwolf but Hug is censored video.
Oh, he's just f***ing me gently!
Oh! Gonna reassure me.
Oh, your mom.
You everyone.
No!
Yes! Me!
Kinda reminds me of Crash Zoom replacing the F word with hug.
Make a movie, right? Hugging now!
Did you just say hugging instead of fucking?
Who would win, a Hogwolf or a Hogwolf? I almost want to count Golad since he does have only one main appearance, but his absence is explained at the end of the episode, where he and Stormer are forced into a permanent psychic stalemate, so yeah, it makes sense that he does get a few cameos. Baby Snaps is another forgotten character, but is largely because of their one-off nature with a tragic backstory. First seen holding a candy convenience store hostage until PB gives up the crown to them. Like only the crown. And after accurately replicating an average conversation between Adventure Time fans,
I was just trying to get away from that rotten Princess Bubblegum for a while, you know? Isn't she just the worst?
Wait, you hate Princess Bubblegum too? Get out of here.
Oh yeah, man, she's the worst.
it's revealed that he wants to be a princess after PB inspired him after visiting the candy orphanage. Wait, why is there a candy orphanage? Like seriously, I don't think candy people can procreate. All candy people are made by her hands. She literally just made orphan children intentionally. You have no qualms in making new life and roles for sapient beings. Give them some parents, you. Did you just make a ton of lonely children and stick them in an orphanage so you can occasionally feel like a big hero for giving them glimpses of comfort? You are sick, lady. So what I got out of this is that Princess Toadstool cares much more about orphans than Bubblegum does.
Or else, the Mushroom Kingdom Orphanage would have to close down
I could hawk my jewels. I could mortgage this cottage.
to raise money for orphan mushrooms.
And we've made more than enough money to build the orphanage.
Need someone to deliver 1,000,000 gold coins to the mushroom orphanage.
Another bag of gold? How wonderful. Please, give the princess double thanks for her double generosity.
Necessary tangent aside, Jake relates to their struggle and is surprised when the princess is insanely unreasonable. Why does the Candy Kingdom have so much crime and a dungeon? Like, is this really the happiest place in New? Anyway, they are fixed up and made the princess of the grasslands and do have a cameo in the finale. I just kinda wish they got more appearances around Candy Kingdom plots like in Candy Streets. Kingworm is a weird antagonist. Just appearing as an end joke in Evicted, he randomly gets a chronologically confusing episode which revealed they have full-on mind manipulation, trapping Finn and Jake in a dream they need to escape before it kills them. This episode makes absolutely no sense as they conclude it as non-canon, as if this follows Evicted, it's impossible since it shows characters the duo hasn't seen in season 1 like the Lich and Flame Princess. However, need to think of their worst nightmares to get out, and the king starts dying after seeing the ghost of Shoko, accurate the 10-year-old me seeing that thing for the first time. However, it's implied that King Worm possibly died after, since it's in such a bad state, so maybe that's why it never reappeared. I would love some sort of villain team up with them like Magic Man or even Mimo, using their powers to aid each other, or maybe just dive into the complete worm rabbit hole. Speaking of which, also in the first Adventure Time game. Then there's the Woobyoos. I love these guys so much. They're just so cute and earnest, and have the most deadpan and realistic deliveries ever.
These 100 stories of 110% 10-speed terror like BAM, like fresh out the grease. Easy, scary. I mean, what if you got 8? Think about it. All alone in a stomach full of acid?
It's a crime they're only like in 2 episodes. I need so many more appearances with these guys. Like every line is pure gold. As I said, replace every crappy obnoxious LSP episode with just one of these guys just vibing around. It would be brilliant. In the same episode, there was Prince Huge, the true identity of the Mega Frog tormenting the Woobyoos, as he wasn't trying to devour them, but get them to kiss him to break his random curse, and Finn pulled the ultimate no homo move to do so.
I don't know a lot of dudes who do that to help a guy out.
The most surprising part is that it's voiced by Captain Knuckles.
I don't get it, though. I kissed just about everything I could get my lips on. How come it only worked with you?
Yeah, this is one of the rare princes in the show. Kind of a miracle, and it's also implied he's related to King Huge from Wallace and Rain. I do wish that was addressed. It could be a cool connection. Yeah, I want to see more of this guy. Maybe he invites her to his huge kingdom and thanks, and they get into some weird adventure there. It sounds awesome. Or maybe just vent about his deadbeat dad who apparently disowned him to look at a clock all day. Then there's Broco from The Suitor, a random humanoid banana guard for whatever reason who will do literally anything to win Bubblegum's affection. And I mean dude legit goes through hell and back, even permanently mutilating his body, and it's like, dude, stop, please stop, I promise you she's not worth it. Despite not winning her over, PB does make a robotic version of herself to satisfy him. Kind of cold comfort after getting horrifically mutilated, but at least it's something. Honestly, robot PB is probably better than real PB. You know what? I'm gonna make a crack theory that season 1 through 3 PB got murdered and replaced by a robotic duplicate, hence her random descent into pure villainy in later seasons. I think it makes sense. Honestly, I think Broco is too depressing to feature again, but maybe just include a moment that he's still okay with his robot wife, like he needs a happy ending. There's Island Woman. Yeah, randomly a giant island that's a sapient woman and Party God's girlfriend. Early stacks. He had a nice relationship with Ice King who did inspire him to stop going after princesses. However, due to being an island, she really can't leave and didn't appear after. I would love it if she's still Ice King's confidant and they still go have conversations. That would be adorable. Then, Blargatha, the character responsible for me having a freak out many videos ago.
Spooning.
Wait, spooning? Oh my god! Can't you show this in a kids show? What? She was the sister of Slime Princess, who faked being married to take the throne from her sister and seeked complete control over the land of Oo, using her army to conquer kingdoms. I said this before, but PB nearly destroyed the Fire Kingdom and destroyed their sacred sites because they might be a threat when that was never established in any episode, but just lets the Slime Kingdom and their active army amassing slide. If you don't think PB has a massive vendetta against Flame Princess, you haven't been watching the show.
I'm not a bad person. And if she's imprisoned, I won't be able to complete my tests and I'll have wasted my precious time.
Anyway, after her fraud was exposed, she just kinda gave up and never showed up again. But she did make it to Adventure Time Hell and Forever again. I do think her not showing up again was a missed opportunity and could easily slime her way to usurp the throne or other empires through her influence, and hopefully without the underage marriage and romance. Then there's Breezy. Breezy, I'm surprised, never showed up again as she was pivotal in regrowing Finn's grass arm and trying to help him through his depressional phase. Forced to drink royal jelly to magical girl transformed into a queen to save Finn, as he nearly lost to some Minecraft bees, come on. But after, Breezy was never seen again in the main series, but did show up a few times in the Frog season short, giving us this meme, and also showing she has a friend named Honeyman. That's a weird robot master. Really wish we got an episode focusing around her and her new role as queen and more of her and Finn's relationship. Then there's a character I also completely forgot about, Kent. Kent is the technical brother of another kind of forgettable character, Shelby, with the myth that cutting a worm just makes two worms, now as his younger brother. Kent eventually gets wrapped up into a weird but kind of cool plot inside of the tree fort itself, with a unique ecosystem with the Dewdrop people trying to stop the Rat King from destroying the tree. It's actually a reused concept from an unproduced season 1 episode, interesting enough. This episode gives me like huge Hollow Knight vibes and I'm super into it. Also that Kent kinda looks like Kirby with a sword. However, Kent is forced to stay after partaking of the food of the underworld, a callback to Greek myth, so it does make sense why he never came back. But I mean, a cameo would suffice considering he's in the tree fort. Also, what happened to them and the Dewdrops once the tree got destroyed, it's never explained. There's the ants from Dentist. Finn was forced to enlist in their army to get his teeth fixed, but once he served his tour, they're never seen again, partially because they're supposed to be secretive, and also that they're pretty situational being dentists. They do build up a massive bug war, and I think it would be really cool if they had an episode around that where it erupts in the land of Oo. Hell, maybe bring back Kent for it. Germaine, I almost consider a forgotten character. He was randomly introduced in season 2, dropping the bomb that Finn and Jake have a third brother, but it's never elaborated again. Where was he this whole time? Season 5, eventually, he comes back in a starring role, revealing he's just been staying at their parents' house guarding their stuff and occasionally returns for some family drama and great scenes like Abstract. But still, I figured he should have had more of a role, especially since he was forgotten for so long. There's Water Park Prank, the weirdest and most hated Artshift episode with a plot so dumb and inane I don't even want to mention it. I almost don't want to count Artshift episodes since they're so on the cusp of being non-canon. In fact, this one I think actually was decanonized, so yeah, I don't expect Banangatang Princess or the others to show up again. President Porpus started as a joke in Burning Low for really no reason, until he somewhat got a starring role in President Porpus is Missing. Apparently the ocean has a full-blown democracy, complete with an ocean council of elected representatives. What the hell, the ocean has democracy but not any of the kingdoms?
Meet you, Your Highness.
I'm not a king. I was democratically elected.
The president is missing and need to find out where he went before VP Blowfish is made president in his place.
You're acting highly sus, VP Blowfish.
However, they literally don't do anything as the president just took a 3-day vacation. But since he's never seen or mentioned again, I think a cool ocean exploration episode would be awesome, especially that Finn is no longer afraid of the ocean. Nearing the end of the show, there's the Marshmallow Kids from a very forgettable episode. Technically, they were named in Susan Strong spreading the fire to the human tribe, but get a main spotlight in Scamps also having a rivalry with the Pup Gang, another group of delinquent candy kids. Okay, why are there so many delinquent candy kids running around? Oh yeah, it's probably because they don't have parents, because PB purposely makes life just to torture it and make it everyone else's problem. The average SimCity player is able to run a kingdom better than you. Now I want an episode about Finn calling PB out on how terribly she runs the kingdom, as a full-on gang war she ignores erupts in her front yard. And I almost want to say Bandit Princess, appearing in Season 8 in I Am a Sword, stealing the Finn sword and using it to rob multiple people and kingdoms blind. She's the first and only evil princess, well, openly. And that is such a fascinating concept, even if it's not actually explained if she is one.
I was born with rabies, and my parents didn't love me because they both had mono.
She did appear in Gumball's Loser Squad, but unfortunately, again, did nothing. I want a full exploration on her and her kingdom. Like, imagine if she actually rules the City of Thieves and was the King of Thieves' daughter. That would be so cool. And I can't think of much else, so let's end this on something more personal. Randy, and on a much bigger point, Flint. Now Randy, I don't care about. He's a nothing character just being Flame Princess's younger brother. It's Flint I have a massive problem with. He randomly appears in Jake's suit in Season 5 as a shallow character of her military brother setting the joke that Jake is going to humiliate Finn in front of the worst people he can, like her impressionable younger brothers and her judgmental aunt and uncle. They're nothing characters, just made for the bit. Hell, the aunt and uncle are literally just reused background characters who died in their first appearance. But then the cooler happened. I despise this episode, and I find it complete writing failure, and is one of my most hated episodes in anything. Where out of nowhere, PB thinks that the Fire Kingdom is a threat despite literally nothing in previous episodes indicating it, and seeks to sabotage her infrastructure by making a massive catastrophe to nearly destroy it. I've gone off about how truly terrible this episode is, but the only justification the writers give was reintroducing Flint and out of nowhere giving him a massive hatred of the Candy Kingdom, with his only defining trait being that he wants to destroy it just because. Are you kidding me? That is the laziest way possible to justify a plot. It's not even actual justification. But hey, add to the plethora of half-assed writing in this mess. He's a nothing character who exists purely to justify PB's actions and nothing else. And they were never going to actually commit to this idea, and I can prove it. Remember, in Son of Rat Bear, Flame Princess is told to go seek some inspiration from her family, and Flint and Randy aren't even brought up, as she goes straight to Flame King as if her relatives never existed, and frankly, it's great. I am legitimately happy that they're ignored because they piss me off so much, so for once, thank God they're forgotten. Now they never appear again, good riddance. So, that's about it. That was a lot of forgotten characters, but I'm gonna be honest. With how many Adventure Time had, I'm surprised there weren't more. It goes to show how well Adventure Time handled its characters, even side characters, that despite its large cast and world, many really weren't left behind. It still had a substantial impact on the show itself. It's no wonder this show became so acclaimed as it is, and I do really want to congratulate the show for how truly great it is. And while I did go through a lot of characters, I know I missed some, so please tell me any forgotten characters I, forgot. And if you could think of any stories you can make for them. A more low-key video given my current circumstances, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And so, thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah!